I became a witch at the age of 7, and I was delivered at the age of 19. I was not just a witch but also a Satanist, because there is a difference between a witch and Satanist. I was a charlatan working for a football team because I was summoning wicked spirit to come to the stadium during the football game to enable this football team to win matches. During football game there are demon and battle of spirit and intense spiritual activity. When I was 11 my parents discovered that I was a witch. They were really hopeless and took me to different churches in the city for deliverance, but I was not delivered because I never made my mind to let go of these practice. It is not possible to deliver a witch that want to continue with his evil works of wickedness. Since I could not be delivered because I didn't want, my parents chased me from home and I became homeless though I was just 11. Nonetheless I did not want to abandon witchcraft, for in the night in the realm of witches I was an adult, and I was married and had 11 children. I had so much wealth and advantages that I thought I would lose a lot. Being homeless I was sleeping in the market for a year. I could not take it and began to cry for my father and mother had abandoned me. My colleagues went to accuse me and they reported me to Lucifer. I was a committed witch. There are 2 levels in witchcraft and 7 dimension. The 2 level is community witchcraft and family witchcraft. Community witchcraft operate in the quarter, borough, city and nation. There are quarter, borough and neighborhood where it is difficult for young people to get a job or get married because of this witchcraft. The family witchcraft is the most dangerous because no one can attack you unless these witches of your family give them authorization. The devil want to have a witch in all family. Not all the witches that meet the devil, but since I was a committed witch my issue was brought to Lucifer, because I was crying for my father and mother. Yet in the realm of witchcraft we were taught that we have no family, no brother and sister except those who fly with us in the night, and that our father is Lucifer. In the spirit we were not using the terms Satan or devil because they are pejorative, and whoever call him that name will be killed. We called Satan the god Lucifer because he made himself God. When the devil summoned me I explained to him that my parents have abandoned me because of witchcraft practice. Lucifer said, since your parents have abandoned you today I have adopted you as my son. On that day he put a ring, a covenant on my finger and told the audience, his name has changed. From today you will call him the son of the god Lucifer. Then he told me, I want you to be my instrument. I want to win many souls of men through you. It won't be possible if you are a simple witch. Therefore you must become a magician practitioner. Thanks to the practice of magic people will come to you and I will win their souls. Since I could not be initiated in Satanism by the devil himself, Lucifer called a pastor in the audience that was full of people and demon, and he instructed him to lead me to the capital to an Indian leader, who was the representative of a mystical sect. He was the one to initiate me in Satanist. He was warned in advance about my arrival. When I was received by this Indian man, immediately we traveled to the coastal city of Muanda for initiation. When we arrived to the city, we traveled to the submarine civilization. We descended beneath the Atlantic Ocean for a period of 7 days. When we arrived I was taken to meet the Queen of the Ocean. In the name of Minata, she controlled the 36 chambers of magic beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Musical celebrity of a country always mentioned the name of the Queen Aminata in their songs. Most people think this musical celebrity was singing about a terrestrial woman, but that was not the case, for she is a queen of the Atlantic Ocean. I had to spend 7 days dead beneath the Atlantic in order to be initiated up to the 14th degree of magic, and finally...
Yeah, I was just playing something that I took from another channel. There was a channel by a certain Congolese man who is based in the United Kingdom and is called Peniel Gonde. His channel had many raw testimonies from people who were initiated in witchcraft, mysticism, and Satanism. And the testimonies were so powerful because they exposed how these people were initiated from childhood and why, and how they became victims and their assignments, and it was revealing a lot of the testimonies were so revealing that by following them many people were set free, because through knowledge the just are delivered. Proverbs 11:9. That's the scripture. So many people, when they look at witchcraft, you probably have an image of an old woman, an old man who is in the village, who looks so ugly and so old, and openly shows to people who they are by doing strange and odd things at night. But witchcraft, people involved in witchcraft don't even look like that. I have personally met many people who are witches, wizards, satanists that look like ordinary people. They are so young. I once lived my husband's colleague married a witch. The witch did some witchcraft on the friend, and then they got married. And then after during the marriage, because many witches, because of the things they've done, they've no friends, they've no people close to them. So I remember I didn't like this woman, because she had tried to take, before she took this friend, this man she got married to was a boyfriend of a lady who she befriended, and then took that boyfriend using witchcraft. Because this lady was kind of like, she looked so old. Most people in witchcraft, they've some physical appearance which is not, the unclean spirits physically manifest on them, and they normally look a certain way as well. Sometimes they look, you can actually see from their physical experience, some of them, they have this heavy body. They look like people who have had several children. Some of them, the uncleanliness is visible on their skin. And I've noticed some of them who are so, where even the hair does not grow, because they started too early and they've sacrificed too many children, and they are witches and not Satanists, so they don't have powers to hide certain things. So I want to talk about my personal experiences with witchcraft, with witches, wizards, and warlocks that I've personally seen and known. Hey, lower the volume. So I want to talk about the first experience I had of a witch. As an adult. Like, I don't want to talk about family ones. So for now, I'm going to focus on the ones I had, the experiences I had after marriage for now. Because if I have to start from childhood, there are just too many. So for now, I want to talk about the ones I witnessed as an adult, because these are more revealing. They can help people who are also married to recognize the witches, and also not to fall victims. This lady, the first thing she did, who married my husband's colleague, she started by befriending me. But then for me, I didn't like her, because for me, when I don't like a person, I don't force myself to like everyone. When I have a problem, when I don't feel at peace, when my spirit rejects someone, I just obey. I don't even force myself to befriend that person. I don't even try to be nice to befriend and to accommodate them. I just simply make it clear that I'm not interested in them, and I even am very open. So this lady, the first time she talked to me, she befriended me, and then she was telling me that you must break up with your boyfriend, because your boyfriend is not serious, and he wants to use you, and I've not seen anyone who died because they didn't have a boyfriend. That was her statement to me. And then I told her, why is that your business, what I do with my life? Who are you? Who gave you the permission to advise me on things about my personal life? You don't know me. So she continued to do those things. So for me, I would even go and see my boyfriend, who is now my husband. And then when I come back, she would look for me, because she was like trying, hey, you are getting used, you're doing this. She was trying so hard. So for me, when I came back, I would find her looking for me, and then I would tell her. Then she would ask, where were you? Then I tell her, I'd gone to see my boyfriend. Wow, how is that your business? They say, no, you're going to be used. That boyfriend is not serious. And she said a lot of things. I said, you know what? I'm even going back tomorrow. So don't waste your time on me. I'm not your friend, and I don't want to be your friend. So that's how. But now for her, even when she could clearly see that I was not interested, she then started to she started to make moves to this other friend who was a colleague of my husband, and he was a person who drinks alcohol. So she started by going to him, like she needed help with a project, one of the projects, and then he helped her. After he helped her, and I remember those times when this lady was going to look for this man, all his colleagues were always laughing at how this woman was always looking for him, and she looked like a harlot. She had this loud makeup which was not even close to her color. She had this body like a person who had like several children. I think she had that because she's a breeder. She used to sleep. These people start sleeping with men at a young age when they're initiated. So that's how they end up with that big body. So some of them, they are used as breeders, because not only are they spiritually or sleeping as a ritual with these men, they also are abused through even physically, because they are in witchcraft consciously, and witchcraft is fed by sex, by incest. They have to do rituals to defile these children from a young age, and for her, she was initiated from a very young age by her own mother. So when you're initiated like that, you are also physically do things and rituals. So whenever she went to see this guy, people would laugh at this man, and no one thought that these people would date. So after he helped her with the project, she went to him, and she asked to come to his house so that she can give him a present for helping her, and that's how the relationship started. She had this odd behavior that she used to bring. She would bring some. The sister was into this business of selling chickens, and when the sister was selling chickens, the inside of the chicken, like there's some things from the chicken that are not sold. So she would cook those and bring them, and that's how she was bewitching this man. And this man, because he was so used to women taking care of him, he just thought it's not going anywhere. And then he ended up trapped by this woman, and they ended up married. But now as she was trying to win this man, her target was not this man, it was actually my husband. Because whenever she was going to meet this man, she would call my husband and pass through his house. Because the first thing she did, she asked for this man to show him where my husband lived, because they lived in the same neighborhood. And then she would always insist on going to this. She would always pass by my husband's house, and then she was doing rituals. So for me, she tried. There was a time she didn't know that I was there, and then she went to see. She passed by my boyfriend's house, and then when she passed by there, I was there. I had gone there because I didn't frequent his place at the time. So when she passed by the place, I was so shocked. I even asked her, "What are you doing here?" Because we're not friends. Then it's like, "Oh, I'm just coming to see my boyfriend's friend." Then I was like, "No, you don't need to check on him. Please, whenever you see him, just go where you're going. Don't even bother." So now she knew that after I saw her and I shamed her, and the boyfriend was there, I told her, "Please leave my boyfriend alone." That's what I told her. Then now the next time I had an interaction with her about my boyfriend, she called him, and then I answered his phone. And then she asked me why I was answering his phone, because she wanted to talk to him. Then I told him no. Then I in the end, I told her that she should stay away from him. I told her, I know what you are trying to do, but you'll not win. Then, the next thing she was doing, she was now telling, because my boyfriend at the time, I had helped him to buy some clothes. My brother was an executive, so he used to dress a certain way, which is professional. So when I was dating my boyfriend at the time, I helped him change his wardrobe, his entire wardrobe, to buy professional clothes, because I just thought he had the money, and then I took him to buy nice shirts and everything, and nice clothes, and even for his house. But I was, and then when I went with him, he even wanted to buy me something. Then I told him, no, I just want to help you, that's all. So I did not. So after my boyfriend changed, he was now putting pressure on her boyfriend to just change and look like the new look that my boyfriend had. So she wanted everything about my boyfriend. Then there was another time when she even came to my husband's place and was complaining that the boyfriend is not even touching her, he's not even doing anything, he's not even romancing her or anything, that sort of thing, where she was even telling him that he's not doing things that he's supposed to do to my boyfriend. And then at the end I told him, you know what, if you keep entertaining her, I'll dump you. That's how but then for him, he was so in a position where he felt like, and he cannot just tell the boyfriend anything, because he felt like it may bring tension between them. But in the end, for me, I gave him an ultimatum. Then there was a time when we went to the shops, and then we went together with this person and other people at the time. It was like we're on a trip. I think it was like a big thing where we went on a trip it was related to work for me. But then there were some people who joined, because we wanted people to do some things, working part-time. So she was one of those people who joined. So there were two teams. Her boyfriend went with other people, and my boyfriend went with other people. So she decided to go with my boyfriend because she wanted to be close to him, and she left her boyfriend going with the other team. And then now when we're in the supermarket buying some things, we are checking into a place to sleep, so we had to buy our things that we need, and we were driven to a place to buy the stuff. So for me, I noticed when I was in the place where we were buying things, I was buying my own stuff. Then I saw this woman was now on the till, and then she was putting her things, mixing with those of my boyfriend, and she wanted him to pay. But then now, I was about to pay on my own. Then I noticed she was doing this, where she was now mixing, and my boyfriend was just looking and not doing anything. So I went there, I picked up everything that I know was yes, and threw it out. It's pretty easy to see. I had studied my boyfriend. I noticed the things that he would buy, so I looked at things that he didn't buy, things that didn't look like they were his. I put them away, all of them, and I told her, please, you pay for your own things. This man is not yours. You notice me, I'm his girlfriend, and I was paying for myself. So you need to understand that you are not his wife, and you'll never be his wife. So that's what I did with that woman. But sadly, after that, that was the only time I made my boyfriend, to pay for me. So after I removed her things, then I told her, since you want to pay so much, now you pay for my stuff. And then I put my stuff, and I told him, now you pay. So after that first night we went to the lodge. This lady loves food. Witches, the other thing I noticed with witches, they like to bring people food. So she was always bringing people food, but that food, even though other people would eat it, it only affected this guy. So now when I was now with this when we went to this trip, she decided not to be in the kitchen for the first time. It was not like her. And then now she was in my husband's room, and I was with other people just talking, or I was sleeping in my room. And then I went to look for my boyfriend just to talk to him. So for me, I'm a person who respects boundaries, but I felt like something is off. Then I went and knocked at my boyfriend's room, and I found this lady there just talking to him. And then I told her to go out, and then she went out. Then I talked to him, then I left. This is after I left, I don't know how she know, the supernatural knowledge. Then she went back. But me, when I went back, I saw her now. She was back again. And I had to I had to threaten my boyfriend that, if you keep entertaining this woman, do you know this woman is a witch? Because for me, I knew. And then for him, he was like, yeah, I know, but you'll not do anything to me. But I don't want to complain to my friend, to this colleague, because he may not take it lightly, or she may lie about things. If she's a witch, she can do things. So for me, my best strategy is just to ignore her. Whatever she wants to say, as long as she's not bringing me food. Even if she comes, she can try whatever she wants. It will not work with me. So I had to, and then at the time, I noticed at the time what happened. Because she is a person who was doing witchcraft. Me and my boyfriend and 2 other people, we got very sick to the point that we had to drop out of that trip, and they were supposed to proceed to other places for the things that we're doing. But me, when I got sick and other people got sick, so this woman was using witchcraft to get rid of people so that they can be just him and my boyfriend and a few other people. So she wanted people who were not able to understand or to catch her doing whatever she was doing. So she targeted me, another lady whose boyfriend she snatched, and then she targeted the other guy was a friend of my husband. So she wanted to isolate him so that she can now do a witchcraft. So at the time, me, when I got so sick, we went to the clinic and we tested for malaria, and it was not malaria. But for me, I decided no, I decided to leave. And this other guy was a friend of my husband. He also decided to leave. And then the other lady whose boyfriend she snatched, she refused to leave. Even though she was sick, she continued with the trip. But for me, even when I was about to go, some people were telling me, you cannot leave your boyfriend. This woman, you cannot leave him. Just endure, just persevere. So because some of these women, you never know. But for me, I was not worried about losing a boyfriend, because I knew God is in control. Whatever his will be done. Even if I'm not there physically, she would still not get him, because I knew how God had led me to him, and I knew that it was just a spiritual warfare. I didn't need to be physically present, so I left. But now, then after that trip, that lady, when they came back, they were not even close anymore with my boyfriend. But now, when the husband was going for introductions, she asked for him to go with my husband, and I said no. And then she went with someone else, because these people, they are so well known for doing witchcraft and getting men to marry them. There are places where a person will target another person, and then they will end up bewitching that person, the other person that they intended. So what I noticed, when this lady was having a kitchen party, a bridal shower, I don't know what you call it in different countries, it's called different things. So this kitchen party, when she didn't have friends at all. Witches, if they are deep in witchcraft, they don't have friends, because they probably hate everyone around them, and the people no longer want to associate with them, or the vibes, the spirits in their life, they scare away friends. Because one of the ways witchcraft becomes stronger on a person is to isolate them, so that the spirits can completely control them. So she was one such person. So for me, she wanted me so badly to be close to her that she had introduced me to her sister. So now it was her sister who would be inviting me. But for me, I would only go because I knew the sister was just trying to help her, because she had no one. She had no friends. So the sister, even though she is also involved in the witchcraft, the degree of her involvement is not as bad as this friend. But for her, she's only involved as a blind witch. Those people who are used to seduce men with money, and then she even got a man with money. But then even after she got that man treats her. She tried to do witchcraft this man, it seems like she tried to do witchcraft on him, and then he found out. So even though he had money and a powerful position, he was not allowing this woman to drive his cars. So this woman, even though she was married to a rich man, she was not treated well. He didn't want her to touch his cars, and his relatives would come and drive the cars whenever they want. But for her, she had to use public transport, even though her husband, the father of her children, he had nice, expensive cars. And this friend, you would comment about this brother, the husband of this sister, and they didn't like him because they had failed to control him. They used to call him an abuser. They used to call him very bad names, which I think he was. But sometimes people, most of these witches, they also marry men who are also narcissists or who are also involved in money rituals and power rituals. So I believe this man is also involved in those things. That's why she failed. He comes from a place, that there are these people who can have money, they rise, they even dominate the sector, but they are so into village visits and they are so into their relatives because they are doing rituals with them. So that's how this man is. Even though he is a Christian, and the sisters, this family, they actually go to Apostolic Faith Mission, which is a Pentecostal church. The mother goes to that church, the sister goes to that church, the sister's husband goes to that church. And this lady, who I know is a witch, who took someone's boyfriend, is actually a witch. And I know the witchcraft that they did because she was open about rituals that she did, because she was trying to initiate me at some point. So when they held a bridal shower for her, I was invited, though I didn't want to go. Me, I don't like those things because I know a lot of those things, they like to teach things which are not normal. But that one I went because it was a church event, an FM event. But when I went there, what was odd to me was that her mother and their sisters were there. These bridal showers, they teach you things about how to treat your husband. They teach you things about how relations and how to disconnect from your family and now to embrace the new family. So, but then this woman, the mother, because she's a witch, she was there, and even when they wanted to talk about intimate things that a wife should be taught, because in our culture they also teach some things about tips, about sometimes they teach about I know most of the time they end up being vulgar and concentrate more about bedroom stuff, and people get fascinated about this, where they even start to teach you how to do dances and funny things about how to please your man in bed and everything, which now is part of the satanic agenda. They dwell too much on that. But I believe that sometimes, even though you're a Christian, there's some advice which you can be taught about how to handle things in the bedroom, like for example how to clean yourself up, because this is a new thing that you are going to do. So if you want to be intimate, there's things that you can be taught in a church or in a good way, where your aunts, this was something that used to be taught by aunts, your father's brother, your father's sisters. They're the ones who are supposed to take over this position, where you become close to them, they help you. Let's say you are struggling maybe with body odor, or maybe you are, after you engage in that act, how do you clean yourself up so that you don't smell afterwards? Also, how do you clean up maybe your husband? Those things, I believe they have their place and they are to be taught a person. But that's church bridal shower. They kept telling, when they were there, the mother was seated there and she was like there because she didn't want her child to be taught anything that she was against, and she didn't even want the child to be taught things that are useful for her, like how to handle her in-laws, like how to treat them like family, how to treat her mother-in-law, how to handle the bedroom issues. Because if you listen and you watch some videos of some people get married young, they get married and they don't even know how to clean themselves after they engage in intercourse with their husband. They don't even know basic hygiene, and it's something that can be taught other people, because you don't know these things and it's a new thing and there's pressure, and how to handle the pressure, and how to handle even the arguments with the husband, how to avoid certain things from happening. So in this bridal shower, even though I didn't want to go, God wanted me to go, because the mother's presence there, I think it was so interesting to me. Because as a mother, she was, if you're a person who was spiritual, you could see that the mother, the spirit of witchcraft was there and controlling people there. She had manifested their face, the witch's glare was on her face the entire time. And when I noticed this mother, the way she was looking at me, she didn't approve of me. And I also noticed that whenever there were some people wanted to teach her some things, they couldn't get into detail. They would say, we can't say much because your mothers are here. It was like, a polite way to tell the mothers not to be there. Because normally this bridal showers, the mother of the bride is not supposed to be there. It's supposed to be sisters, cousins, even aunts, and aunts from the father's side, not your own sisters, because it's like a mother. It's not a mother's place, because they are being handed over to another family as an in-law, and you need to be trained and taught to cleave to your husband and not to be. And one of the problems that is common in my country is that women, they tend to dominate their husband, and the family sometimes, because of witchcraft, they try to dominate. The wife tries to control the husband and the family. So this is the thing that they're trying to work on, because you are close to your mother, yes, but you need now to be helped on how to have a transition. So for them, the mother denied that. She was there throughout. But I noticed there was one thing they taught her on that bridal shower, that she must not tell anyone her husband's salary, including her own close family. She must not share anything personal, arguments that she has with her husband, with her family, with her mother and her sisters or brothers. Because it's expected that when you're married, you have issues. And then when you have those issues, you forgive your husband. But now, when you have shared with other people, now you're expected to respond to their own bitterness. And it may end up destroying you, even if you're forgiven. These people are not living with him, and they are not one flesh as him. They may end up straining the marriage. So they were talking about these things, which I found that those are the lessons that I learned from that bridal shower. But now what I noticed, like for me, I also went to the wedding because my husband was not there, and now this was a colleague of his who lived in the same area as him. So I had to go to that wedding. To my surprise, when I got to that wedding, I was shocked. So I said, there were this type of sitting where the husband's relatives and friends sit on one side, and the wife's relatives and friends, they sit on the other side. I looked, on the wife's friends and relatives, there were very few people and friends. She had no friend to speak on a wedding. Then now I remember the sister came to ask me to speak like a friend. For me, I was even shocked, and I even explained to the sister that I'm not even a friend. Then the sister told me that she knew that I was not his friend, but I was a girlfriend of her husband's friend or colleague. But I was the closest they had as a friend. I was the only person who was that close to her. That's what she explained to me, that please, can you just take up this role, and can you please sit on the wife's relative side, wife's friends and relative side. So they made me to speak and bless her wedding, even though we're not friends. Because she didn't have friends, because probably she had tried to snatch boyfriends from all her friends and they didn't like her. And also the entire, it's like when you're a witch, there are things that happen to you. And you know, the funny thing, even though this woman tried to, after the wedding was done, this woman, do you know, she deleted all my photos, you know, like now, and all my, you know, she didn't like the fact that I talked there, but she wanted me to talk. She's the one who had told your sister to ask me to speak like a friend, and I did a very good job. I did not, you know, I just blessed her wedding, and I spoke that I didn't lie that we're friends, but I just spoke I'm just speaking like a person who wishes her well, a person who knows a bit about her, but I didn't openly show that we are not friends. So no one picked that up that we're not friends. People were actually convinced that we're close from the way I spoke. I was so good at how I spoke there. But for her, because the spirit operating in her life and the spirit operating in my life, they are parallel. So obviously, I heard what she wanted. She had settled for her husband, but that's not the person that she wanted. So she didn't like me for that reason. So she had this hatred that, and even after the wedding, she was still after my husband. Because when we got married, we struggled with that woman trying to even visit our house, visit and open the bathroom when my husband is bathing. She tried to even, there was a time she visited with her husband and they were leaving because they wanted, we were sharing a place when they were there. And then this woman would go to the bathroom naked. She would come out of her room around 1, 2 a.m. I met her several times, stark naked. And then when she saw me, she was like, oh, sorry, I was thinking that it was your husband. At least it's you. And then you are somewhere where you have other men there and you are busy walking around naked. And then during that time, she tried to open the door when my husband is bathing several times. So that to the point that my husband was no longer comfortable bathing when she was around. He had to put a mop, a broom to support the door because the key was not working. I don't know what was happening then. But she was so determined even after the marriage. She didn't give up. Until we had to cut contact and the friendship died. My husband does not want to see even her husband. They are no longer friends because the husband also changed after he married this woman. He completely changed. He became this he had always been a competitive person, but he became extreme. And then what I noticed about this woman, when she married this man, she was the one who was controlling him. This man, I'll talk about how they lived for like a year or so. And then she got pregnant. And then she gave birth to a child. So there was a time someone died, close to this husband died. And then he went for the funeral. And then after they went to the funeral together, he came back normal. He was, one thing that really surprised me, this man, that was my husband's friend, he used to be a drunkard. But as soon as he married this woman, something happened. He tried to drink alcohol, and then when he was trying to drink alcohol, he vomited everything, and he was almost dying. And that was the last time he had taken alcohol in excess. Then after that, after they married, even though he was under some witchcraft manipulation, he was still a loose man because he would still entertain other women. Because when you use witchcraft to win a man, it does not stop certain things from happening in their life. You cannot control certain demons in his life. So for her, she could not completely stop him from alcohol because there were times he would just take alcohol, but not as much as he did before. Then the second thing, he could not stop the love that he had for the other woman that he had taken him from. Because he would still talk about this woman even though they were together. And then they were also, what I noticed, he seemed to love prostitutes, this man, even though he was under. So I was wondering, if she used love potion and it works, why is it not stopping him from seeing prostitutes? But it's because prostitutes they use charms from the evil kingdom. And then now when you use charm on a man, this charm like attracts. So you can actually stop him from dating normal women, but you can now connect him to even other people using charms. So they connect. That's how they end up sleeping with women who are also into the same thing. The other thing that I noticed with this man, after the funeral of his loved one, when he came back, I think they did something to him. He vomited the charm or something, because his mother was a member of a white garment cult. So they had done something and they had undone what was done to him. But when he came back, he didn't like to touch his son. He didn't even like to eat what this woman cooked. You know, these charms, they expire, or you can vomit them. You can go to see someone, some rituals are done and the person vomits, and then they vomit. They no longer want to the person. So at that time, I remember this woman, after the charm, she was, after they came back, he didn't want her anymore, and he didn't eat what she cooked. He was only eating bread and straight from the carton, you know, where a person is only eating raw food that is not tampered with. And he was refusing everything good, and he was refusing to touch the baby. It was like he had woken up, he found himself with a wife and children, and he didn't understand how they got there. He had no idea. He was terrified of everything. You could see it in his eyes that he was scared. He didn't even want, he knew what had happened to him. So now what I noticed with this man, at that time, this woman, she was open to me at the time, because she didn't have friends, but she would come to me. And then there was one day she asked me to accompany her to a phone booth. And when she was there, she called her mother, and she was ready to give up on the marriage. So she called the mother and told the mother that she wanted to bring his son, so that the mother could look after that son, and then she could complete her education and leave the man, because of the things that were happening. The mother said, I will not take care of your son. If you have your child, you take care of your child. I cannot help you with that. The mother wanted money. They were even demanding money for this girl, for this woman and her husband, to buy a car for her own brother when her own husband did not have a car. So the demands on them were extreme, but they were not supportive. But you know, I hope, you know, this woman, what was strange about this woman, with all the things they did and the things they were experiencing with the husband, even when he was under the charm, you know, this man did not want to walk with his wife. He didn't want to be, even when they're going to church together, he'll be in front alone and she'll be behind with the child. You know, it was like that. He never wanted to be seen with the wife, even though he was under the influence of those witchcraft charms and the love spell. But now after he wanted, and they were going to church every Sunday. They were even paying tithe at the church, which was an AFM church. That church, you know, it was spiritually dead. They had no power to subdue whatever was happening in your life. Because with all that, she would still go to church. She would still do a witchcraft while being a full member who was paying tithe to church. And you know, I noticed she was paying tithe to church, but they were always struggling. They were always lacking, but they were paying tithe. They always borrowed. They always eat. You know, there was a time they would eat sadza and baked beans. You know, that soft porridge. That is the staple food in Southern Africa. They would eat it with baked beans because they didn't have money. And you know, the wedding, they had done it using borrowed money, and they'd even stolen some money from other colleagues to do that wedding. So it was this thing where people are so desperate for a wedding, but they don't afford. They even resort to theft to fund the wedding. And then, you know, when I looked at their life, there was never rest in their marriage. So after this woman tried to divorce this man, after she tried to divorce this husband, the next thing that happened, the mother, I don't know what, because she used to talk about this witchcraft. She knew a lot of love potions. She was always talking about the love potions openly. So this woman, one day, I just noticed something changed. They were together again with the husband. Things looked normal then, and they were living together. But the other thing that was so weird about this relationship is that after the wife did, she sort of renewed her charms and things were okay, and they moved to another place. And then whilst they were living in that other place, that's when they distanced themselves from us completely. But us, we had made a decision, because for me, I didn't want anything to do with this wife, but she was the one who wanted to be close to us. And the husband, they wanted to be close to us. So me and my husband, when we moved from that country, my husband decided to cut contact with this man. Because the witchcraft on him was also happening he was also worse. And I remember there was a time my husband met this man, and he explained to him what had happened to him. There was a time he almost lost his life. It's like the wife did a charm on him. There are so many people who are victims of stomach problems, stomach issues like ulcers, and it's not medical. It's because of things that are muti, they call it muti, juju, charms, mushonga. Something that bewitchment, love potions and bewitchment, when you get a lot of those things, they may not kill you, but they may cause you to have serious problems. Like you may have heart, you may have serious problems like cancer, you may have ulcers, because those things are not things that are supposed to be ingested. You can have problems that where you die of something completely different. Like this man almost died of an ulcer that burst. It's like an intestine that burst. And then after the intestine burst, he was almost dying, and they had to do an emergency operation. And the funny thing that this woman did, when they did this emergency operation, they invited instead of calling the husband's mother, they invited the wife's mother, and she was the one who came. And he was almost dying. But why did she call her mother? Because she was the one responsible for the charms that almost killed the husband. And she was there to undo the charm and come back with some concoctions to try and save his life or something. But one thing I noticed about this husband, his brain does not work. I did not know him much when he was before. I didn't know about his academic performance that much before he married this woman. But what I knew was that this man was not really a distinction type of man. He was a man who would pass because he didn't sleep. He was a person driven by competition, that he would be inspired to compete with those better than him. So he had to resort to means where he would even buy, they call them archives, where he would do a lot of things to claim he was not really an intelligent person. So he managed to forge ahead, to look like a bright person before then. But after he got married, he took a destiny which was not his. He copied my husband to go for PhD. He was a person who was doing things to copy. So he ended up having a PhD. But right now he is just doing jobs for people without a PhD, despite having a PhD. So, there are things that are important, because I remember when I knew this man, he had found a good job after his master's degree. If he had pursued that path, He would probably be someone big in terms of finance, in terms of career. But for him, because of the spirit of competition and witchcraft that was already operating in his life, he ended up copying other people's destinies, and now he got himself involved in things that are not his destiny. And already, even by marrying this woman, he got himself out of his God-given destiny. He is in a marriage. The Bible says what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. If you are joined by charm, witchcraft, you are not joined by God, it's Satan. So that type of marriage, God is not talking about that when he speaks about what God joined together, because he did not join that in the first place. So this man, he was always, I remember when he was married, he was never having a good job. He never had a good job. There was a time he almost landed on a position which was good. The only reason he got to that position was because someone, it's like he went for interviews, then another person got the job, and then that person who got the job died in a fatal accident or something, and that's how he was now called to take that job. So you already see there was witchcraft being done. But even though that job was supposed to give him a better life, it didn't give him a good life. He ended up moving to another job. So when you're using witchcraft, when you marry a witch, you may get opportunities. And then when you get those opportunities, still your life, you'll not get fulfillment from those opportunities. They may use witchcraft to make you get things. They may use witchcraft to make you compete and get into a certain destiny. But because it's not yours, it will not profit you. It will just bring cases. So that's what I noticed about this guy. There was a time he was following, he got into a position where can you imagine this man had a PhD? And then he got an exact position that I did before I had a master's degree. And then the first thing he did when he landed into that position, he told my husband that I'm following after your footsteps. He had taken a position that I took before my master's. I had that exact position. After his PhD, he took that exact position, and for him, it was a reason for he was so happy about that, and he even called my husband to let him know that now he was following his footsteps. It's like showing that he was clearly copying my husband's destiny, my husband and I. It was a case where a person is always looking to copy and do things to compete with someone whose destiny is so different. So there was a time. So even after he got this position, it didn't last. He didn't last long. After the end of that contract, they didn't renew because he was not competent. When you are involved, when you use witchcraft and bewitchment on a person, that person, they don't forge ahead, because whatever spirits that are put on that person, that you put on that person, they will also want something. They will destroy the destiny, because most of the time they're using the spirits from the graves, and the spirits from the grave, the power of the grave, does not encourage someone to be. They don't make someone to forge ahead. They don't want success, because the devil is not about, they doesn't want anyone to succeed. So whenever you contract, you are working with those demonic powers, you are just opening that person to many demons, and they will torment that person for life. So that's the case with this man. And my husband tried to run from this man. He didn't want him at all, because of the spirit of witchcraft operating in his life. But this man, he continued to come and visit and try even to lie to people that he was close to my husband. But my husband was not interested, and he ended up just blocking him on everything, because he didn't like the spirits. And there was a time my husband and I, we would dream about this woman a lot. Witches, when God is exposing them, you can start to dream about them a lot. When they are their powers are destroyed. So that's what happened with this woman, the witch. The witchcraft was expired. So in life, when you use witchcraft to forge ahead, it doesn't help you. You may feel like you have done something. So the other thing that I noticed with this woman, she renewed her witchcraft. She had to renew her witchcraft, but even though she was renewing the witchcraft, she was not happy. And she gave birth to children who are low. I noticed the first child was so sickly. The first child was not normal. Because when you're operating with these spirits of witchcraft, they are living in you. They even affect your husband's seed because you gave him something. So now when they gave birth to their child, the child was not well mentally. He had like some brain issues. He was slow mentally. So it's like something was taken from this child. So if you are using witchcraft, you are putting not just your husband and yourself at risk, but your entire seeds, your children and their children, they are going to be followed by that witchcraft. And they are going to have misfortunes. And the other thing I remember that happened with this woman, when this man wanted to divorce her, she even threatened her that she wouldn't threaten him that he would get sick like his father did. The father left the mother for another woman, something happened to the father. He lost his he had a stroke, and this other woman left her, and that's how the mother then got him back. So when she told the woman when she told the man that he would have a stroke, he knew that was not an empty threat. But it was real. So there are so many things that happen. So, why did this man end up marrying this type of woman? It's because this man had slept around with many women and even had abortions done for him. So most of the people you see who are victims of this extreme witchcraft will marry witches like this. They themselves are actually involved in something else. They are blind wizards as well. They are coming from Syria. They've done things where they take lives, where they destroy lives, where they did things also. So them meeting these women and becoming victims, they are not just victims. They are people who attracted this type of women or men because of the life they lived. So, in life, when you have, there are certain things that you need to pay attention to. One of the easiest way to protect yourself from certain things is just to live your life right. Because the word of God says in Isaiah 54 verse 14, in righteousness you shall be established. So some of the reasons why people end up bewitched is because they did things that made themselves vulnerable. So if you look like at Isaiah 54 verse 14, okay, in righteousness you shall be established. In righteousness thou shalt be established, thou shalt be far from oppression, for thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near you. So you can see already the protection. And I'm going to talk about another incident where I met a witch who was a medical doctor and a very active member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She was a person who was a witch. She was also a person who was a medical doctor. She was also a person who was extremely, she looked way ugly. I don't know. Like they say that these people from the water, they look very beautiful. But I also noticed there's a certain type of witch where the person's skin, they have a skin that is not nice. It's like the spirits that are using them, the unclean spirit. The unclean spirit physically manifests on their skin, on their appearance, and they look extremely ugly. She was so ugly that you would think she's sick or she's extremely old. And I noticed the husband was also like that. They were married and they looked like twins and they looked extremely ugly, both of them. And the skins, they were, I don't know. I'm not saying, the ugliness for them is not natural. It's like something is manifesting through both of them. So this woman, I'll talk about this one in the next video that I'll do.